good morning, hello, good evening. This is QETV Live Show with your host, Miss H. As always, I promise to bring you a wonderful show, great content, but you're watching me live right here in the very own studio, voxwave.com in Camp Spring, Maryland. I'm live here every Thursday from 1:30 to 2:30. So, however you inform your best friend, your supervisors, your mom, your dad, your uncles and brothers, call them up now and tell them to tune in and watch Mrs. H on QETV Live. You don't want to miss today's show. I have a very important guest that's going to help you, assist you, inform you on mental health, on how to just balance life each and every day. We're also going to talk about ways in which you can do some things to just inspire hope within yourself, bridge some gaps in your own life, and just learn how to be happy. You know, sometimes we take time for everyone else and we neglect our own selves. So today's show, she's going to share with you some of those informative ways. Yes, she's a doctor. She will be joining me soon. But I also want to just take the time to remind you, we just entered into another month. It's the fall of the year. I love the fall. It's beautiful outside today. So within this month, we have a time where we're celebrating and informing people about breast cancer awareness. I know a lot of you right now have either experienced it yourself, or you know someone that is experiencing it or have experienced some form of cancer. We don't like that little C word. I call it the little C, because when you can get ahead of it, it doesn't have to overtake you and overshadow you when you are informed about what to do and where you should go and how you can seek help. So this month, find someone you know or join other teams of people, because there's a lot of them out there. There's Walk for Breast Cancer Awareness. There's so many organizations that are putting on different informative venues right now. We see the little pink ribbon. So, you know, find someone, encourage them, support them. And if you are just memorializing someone who maybe have already fallen from breast cancer, one way to really show your love and appreciation for them is to find someone else that you can inspire and give hope to. So remember, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as well as domestic violence. We don't ever want to hear that. We see it all over the news right now. How people are affected by domestic violence. So again, be aware of these things. There's so many organizations out there, and our guest today will talk to you about some of that as well. And the last thing that I want to share with you in the month of October is Pastor's Appreciation Month. It's a time to celebrate. Remember, my show, I bridge inspiration with information for everyday life. And we all need spiritual counseling, just like we need mental counseling. And as a pastor or someone in ministry, this is a month to appreciate that special man of God or that woman of God, or both people that are in ministry, to show them how much you love and appreciate them during this time of the month for Pastor Appreciation Month. So again, use October as a time to be inspired, bring hope, encourage someone and appreciate someone during this time of the month. Like always, you're watching QETV Live Show with your host, Miss H. Again, you don't want to miss today's show. We're going to take a pause now. We're going to break for a station break, and we're going to show you just a short clip of the Talk Doctor And then right after that, she will be live here in the studio. So I'm giving you time. Go and let someone know that you're watching QETV Live show with your host, Miss H. And if you want to call in and ask the Talk Doctor a question, the hotline number is 240-719-2560. You can call in and let us know your name and ask a question with the Talk Doctor today. Again, that number is 240-719-2560. You're watching QETV Live show with your host, Miss H. I will see you in a few moments.
Let me be the first to say Happy New You. You know, a new you should be thought of as not just another cliche. It can be a real and attainable goal. In fact, if we should all reinvent ourselves periodically, if we want to focus on continuing to grow and stay relevant, what better time to think about the new you than the new year? You know, make 2018 your best year ever. And I have about 7 tips to help you with that. Number 1, start with the you in the mirror. You know, a lot of times we don't spend time really focusing on ourselves and looking at, you know, who do we want to be? What do we want to change about ourselves? What things are working well and what do we need to improve upon? Number 2, you know, write down those negative, self-defeating thoughts and then shred it. Get rid of those things. Get them out of your system. And a great way to do that is by shredding the things you no longer want to focus on. Number 3, aim to become the best version of you. You don't have to be anybody else, just the best version of you. Number 4, write down your SMART goals. SMART goals are so important because you are more likely to achieve them because they are SMART. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. Number 5, make a commitment to action. When you have goals, you have to develop actionable steps to maintain and to reach your goals. Number 6, stick with it. You have to be disciplined and have stick-to-itiveness in order to achieve those goals. And finally, lighten up. Have some joy in your life. Because in order to have the best year ever, you gotta have joy. Want to find out more about the Talk Doctor? Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at The Talk Doctor. And let me help you make 2018 the best year ever.
I love it. How to make 2018. And you know what? I love the fact that even though it's October, that was done at the beginning of the year. And a lot of people crash in the mid-year and they think, well, I didn't do or I did not fulfill my New Year resolution goal, and they give up. Because sometimes we all, you know, you're on a diet after you can't get past that 5 pounds and you just feel like you're stuck, or you're writing a book and you get those writer's blocks or whatever you may be doing. Always remember, like she says, you have to try to reach those goals and make them measurable, make them attainable. And sometimes when you're in the midst of it and you don't have anyone to help push you into your purpose, that's why I brought the Talk Doctor here today. I actually ran into her, and I don't think anything is by coincidence. We didn't even know each other. And me passing, looking at some business opportunities, I met up with her, asked her who she was and what she does. And when I discovered her, I said, you know what? I want to have you on my show. I want you to talk to my audience. And I want you, because sometimes I need to be pushed into my own purpose. And it doesn't hurt when you have others that have gone where you've gone or professionally trained. And that's the beauty of it. I now can add to my friendship and align myself with a professional who she has a lot of titles behind her name too. So she's going to introduce herself, and she's going to tell us about a lot of those titles behind her name. But the most important thing, what I want you to come away with, is the information that she's about to share. And then listen, stay with us, because I want you to listen to how you can get in contact with her. Okay, so, Doctor, you're the Talk Doctor.
Yes, I am.
Tell us your name and what's all those titles behind your name and what do they mean?
Oh, my goodness. First off, I would like to thank you, Mrs. H, so much for having me here. It means a whole lot. I want to also start off with one of my signature quotes that I say when I speak to audiences. The moment you realize that you are responsible for every aspect of your life is the moment you are completely free. So I want you to chew on that for a moment as I share with you. I am a psychotherapist by my profession, a professional speaker, a consultant, and also a life coach. I am a licensed psychotherapist. That's one of the letters you see behind my name. And I am not really intrigued by titles. I'm just intrigued by action. And that's what I hope to help you to achieve today, that whatever it is that's going on in your life, whatever stressors you might have, actionable steps is the single most important things you can do. We can talk all day long and inspire you to move, but unless you put one foot in front of the other, there is nothing that's going to happen. It begins with you. And so that's what I do. I inspire people to do better, to improve their lives. And through my gifts, I like to call them my gifts, and hopefully today I can share a minute with the Talk Doctor, one of the things that I do about operating within your gifts. But I feel so blessed to be able to use my talents to inspire everyone that I meet. I see people from all walks of life, from professionals to lay people who come into my office, and oftentimes you wouldn't believe some of the things that people are going through. And one of the wonderful things that really keeps me doing what I'm doing is that when they walk out of my office and I can see the countenance on their faces change because they've been able to unload and really get an opportunity to be heard and validated, I think that that is so important for us today. And I also want to tell you all that any of us can go to counseling. It's not just the other people type of thing. And it's not just for people who can afford it or a luxury. This is a gift that you give to yourself. So I'm seeing a lot of even African American men coming for counseling now, and years ago that used to be something that was sort of
looked down upon, stigmatized.
Yes.
But let's go back, because I see the passion in your voice, and I hear the motivation and the desire to help others. Let's go back, and when did you discover that this was something you wanted to do? And take us back to when you discovered it, and take us along that path to how you were trained and educated yourself.
Okay, so you know, I think I've always been a very goal-oriented person. I'm a giver, and so by the very nature of who I am, you know, I'm caring and I'm giving. So this profession just fits with me. Sometimes to my own detriment, because I sometimes think I give too much. But you can never outgive, you know, and so that is really important. But so this started very early on. I started off in South Lancaster, Massachusetts, where I went to school for undergraduate, and I did psychology, and then I moved to New York City, where I kind of got into my career, and then later on I got a master's degree in social work, where I became that clinical profession. You have to be licensed independently in order to practice. And one of the wonderful things is that I always loved working within organizations. So at first I thought I was going to become an industrial psychologist. And for those of you who don't know what that means,
tell us what industrial.
It's just simply a complicated term for somebody who works with organization and people within organizations to help them do better. And now we have a lot of what we call EAPs, Employee Assistance Program, where some organizations will purchase X amount of sessions for their employees because they recognize that employees do have difficulties that impact their work and their life. And so the employer will pay for these services, and providers like me in the community, professionals will come to you and kind of talk about their stressors. And so I kind of got into that arena, which led me to go get a degree, study organizational development and management, and that's the fold-in for, you know, what I do. I'm a clinical professional, and at the same time I work with organizations as well. So I fold those two things in, because one of the things that I want people to understand is that your employees are the best things that you can have in your organization. They're of value, and you have to take care of them. And it's not just about growing the organization. The people who help you grow your organization are important also.
Well, let me ask you about that, because you says, okay, so the fancy word for industrial psychologist now is
that they use the employee assistance program. I mean, they're still industrial psychologists, but we mostly use
I see that when they show that you get these benefits. Now, here's the cruncher about that, where people are reluctant.
Yes.
Because how much confidentiality is that for an employee versus the employer knowing what's going on? Because if you really know that I'm having these stressors, am I at risk of losing my job? Or do you have to report, since the employer is paying a percentage of this insurance?
I am so glad you asked that question. That is a very important question. And those of you who have used the EAP before, you may understand this a little bit better in terms of how this works. It's very important for us to understand that we are bound by confidentiality laws, and so are EAPs. Just because your employer covers the session fees doesn't mean that your employer has to know that you used it. And so what happens is the employer will get aggregate data, meaning the data to say 10 people used it in the month of October, that kind of thing.
Just the numbers.
But never an identifier. And this is also important for a lot of federal employees who do come to see me as well. They often are reluctant to come to use the EAP because they're concerned about maybe their security clearances and those kinds of things. And those are really valid concerns. But I want you to also hear that although you choose to use your EAP, which is one of the ways you can see me, that you never have to worry that your employer knows that you're using it or why you're using it unless you disclose that yourself.
And I want you to hear that, viewers, that EAP is out there for you. It's been purchased, and it's almost like having a benefit that is being unused, because I've heard many of my ex-coworkers say that same thing, like, I'm not going to use that because then it's going to be used against me, not realizing that there's that confidentiality piece in it. So, again, that's a plus now, and that's freedom now that I can share with a lot of people. Use it or you can lose it.
Absolutely.
What are some of the things that you have seen that people are reluctant to? Because one of the things that I like to inform people, how to take away the fears and the stigma that causes people not to get the help, because it's too important to say, oh, it's too late, or I should have said something when I saw these signs. And it all leads to, preventive measures.
Absolutely.
That people, what are some other things that people are reluctant to do that you can help them to move forward to make them the best that they can be?
Absolutely. This is a really great question. And you're absolutely right. There is still a lot of reluctance as it relates to coming and seeking help. And by the way, I want to just interject that this coming week is Mental Illness Awareness Week. So from October the 7th through the 13th is Mental Illness Awareness Week. But we like to generally use the entire month of October to raise this awareness, this important awareness, because when you don't go get help, oftentimes people try to self-medicate. And self-medicating can be in the form of using alcohol and then maybe getting into abusing it. A lot of times people mask what they're going through by drinking too much or by using illicit substances. And so it may help for the moment, but think about what you're doing. You're actually compounding your problems, because now you not only had the problem that you started with, now you have another problem that has compounded upon that. And so when you come in for treatment, we're not able to get to the depression or the anxiety or even the domestic violence situation you've been dealing with, because now we have to first choose to treat the alcoholism.
So in other words, the anger, the depression, and the addiction is the fruit of a bigger problem.
Absolutely.
How do you kind of peel off some of that mask that if I do decide to come to you and I'm a mess, or maybe I'm not, because I hid it very well, like they said, the functioning alcoholic.
Yes,
and I don't like
indeed.
to always use the word alcoholic, because there's so many addiction. We can have addiction with buying too many shoes and clothes, ladies. We can have addiction with, sometimes my challenge is, and I'm not afraid to admit it, my kids tell me my voice, I yell too much. When I get upset and angry, I don't get enough sleep, or I'm tired, or being pushed too hard. My voice escalate, and then I'm so sorry lately. Later on, and it's like, but that's a problem. And I don't like being that person.
Understood.
How do one begin to work within those problems? Because I hear the word psychotherapist, and my first mind, as soon as you said psychotherapist, I'm thinking of that person that snapped, like, I'm not psychotic, but psychotherapy just sounds so brutal.
It does, and it does. And hey, guys, at the end of the day, it's just counseling.
Okay.
At the end of the day, it's just a fancy term, but truth be told, we psychotherapists do a little bit more than that.
Okay.
Because, we have to do clinical assessments to get to a diagnosis. A diagnosis is important, especially if you're using insurance to pay for, your sessions. Of course, all those formalities are necessary, but psychotherapists are clinically trained. And so if you come in and you have an acute issue, which means that it might not be psychosis, or it might not be some of the deeper issues, depression, anxiety, but it may just be, I just want to learn how to approach my family much better because I'm stressed out. I'm also a life coach. And if you know what a coach does, a life coach does a similar thing. I'm side by side with you, hand in hand, coaching you along the way, giving you these necessary tools. I like to call it, those of you who have seen me before, I use the term tools in your toolbox. I give you the tools, and the important thing that you have to remember is that you first have to be aware that you have this problem. Denial is not just a river in Egypt there. A lot of us live in denial. And so the longer you stay in denial, the worse your problem is going to get. And so it's very powerful today that you sat here and you said, I have a problem sometimes with my anger when I'm stressed out.
I think it's 80% of the time, because they tell me that I'm still doing it. But in my heart, and that's the problem. You want to do right.
Yes,
but then that thing that takes over you becomes stronger.
Yeah.
And I've found out, I don't know if this is a term or something that can be used, but you know what I've found out that has helped me, and now I want to ask, is this a mental health diagnosis? You know, like when you're overweight and you start exercising and you start working with a trained
like
body
a personal
personal
trainer,
trainer, and he start working with your body.
Yes.
But then he may tell you, I'm gonna send you, I want you to come through some boot camps because we're gonna do some intensity work.
Yes.
Is there such thing as intensity or mental boot camp?
There is, yeah. We can put you through a mental boot camp. For example, if you go through like a group of people who are dealing with anger management or something, you may be challenged to do certain things. That's kind of your boot camp.
Okay.
That, you know, you choose to join an anger management group, or you choose to join a group that a coach has set up to help people overcome their anger and their difficulty. And the boot camp part comes in because now you got to change.
Oh,
And nobody wants to change. You know,
Okay.
that's that little word that everybody, who, me? You mean I have to do something differently? And then the fear creeps in. Because what if I fail? What if I can't continue on this path? What if I never overcome this? But I'll tell you, what if you do? That's a better question to ask. What if you do change?
I'd be better, much
Yeah,
better.
absolutely.
For myself and for others.
Absolutely. So you really have to be willing. First, it's the awareness, and then it's the willingness to get in there and do change. Recognize it's the you in the mirror. A lot of times, you know, we stand in our own way. You know, we're the common denominator in the situation, but we look and we blame everybody else. It's everybody else's fault. Well, you made me yell. You made me do this. You made me pick up a drink. No one made you do anything. Because one of the things that you have to understand is your thoughts are very powerful, and they are what contributes to your behaviors. It starts in a thought, it goes to the feelings, and then it moves into the behaviors that you choose to exhibit. And so nobody has power or control over your thoughts.
Well, what about when people are pushing those trigger buttons? Because you know,
And they will.
people will push triggers.
And they will.
So how do I control? Because if I don't realize what my triggers are, all I know is that you keep making me do that. You made me
Did
yell.
you hear what you just said? If I don't realize what my triggers are,
Yes.
it goes back to you. Remember how I said it starts with that awareness?
Okay.
That awareness is very important. So once you know that, you know, at 5 o'clock in the morning when I have to get up early to start my day, and I already have a long day ahead of me, and then the kids start screaming and they're yelling and they're not putting on their clothes and they're not getting ready to go to school, that's a trigger button of yours, because immediately now it's going to your thoughts are swirling around in your head, and now you're upset because nobody else is cooperating. But who did I say is upset? You're upset. In that moment, you can choose your emotions. You can say to yourself, I recognize I'm stressed, and that's a trigger of mine. So what do I need to do? Take a pause before I go approach my children. Because if I approach them now, I'm going to yell, and I don't want to yell. So it's important for you to understand that you have a choice in the moment.
Yes.
And you have to take a step back to recognize I can choose to go ahead and go after them and yell at them, or I could say, take 10 seconds to breathe. And for some of you, it'll be more than 10 seconds. You take as long as you need, and then you go approach the children. So your stressors, you know, if you don't show people your buttons, they won't know which ones to push. You have control over that as well.
So that's not masking,
Well,
not showing my hand. Because, you know, you get to the office and that one coworker just seems to know how to pass your desk and just bring that conversation that you really don't want to go there.
Right.
So how do I not show?
You can have a choice in the moment. As I said, the coworker passes you by, you don't like the coworker, immediately your thought is, I wish she would go away.
Yes.
I wish he would go away. So that's where the thought starts. And then the emotions come, anger, disgust, dislike, contempt, anything else that you choose to have in that moment because of the thought you had about that coworker. And then you start showing the coworker the cold shoulder. And if the coworker says but one thing to you, then
that's it.
There it is.
So really, you can snap in more than ways of just violent ways. You can snap in real
internally.
Subtle
Yes.
ways too.
Yes, because as human beings, we do one of two things. We implode or we explode.
Explain the difference.
Implode means that we take things inside of us, and we can be a ticking time bomb for a very long time. And oftentimes when we implode, it manifests itself in depression, in anxiety, and all of those other things that we internalize and then do to ourselves. So we're stuffing the emotions. And then exploding, of course, you know, the anger, the rage, the tossing, the breaking things, the things that come out, because again, we lack the self-control to deal with the emotions. You know, all of our emotions are completely valid. And I say this all the time when I speak to audiences on emotional management. All of our emotions are valid, whether it be happy, joy, sadness, they're all valid. The thing that we need to understand with anger, and the reason it gets a bad rap, is because we don't realize that what we're doing with the emotion of anger is unacceptable. It's unacceptable to our families. It's unacceptable in the workplace. It's unacceptable out there in the streets as well. So you have to be very aware. I can say to you, you know, I'm angry because you did X, Y, Z.
Okay.
And I expressed my emotion to you, so now you know I'm angry, but I don't have to grab you by the neck and start choking you to express that that's what I'm feeling. That's a choice of mine. So after I've expressed to you the feeling of anger, I got that out. And now you and I can have a dialogue about my anger. And so the next time you'll say, you know what, I won't do that because that is a trigger for her. That creates anger within her.
Okay. Now, what would you say to, because it just doesn't affect us as individuals, but I can see this in family dynamics, like that parent with that teenagers, because, you know, those teen years, those hormones are raging, or that husband and wife. How do you begin to assess if a parent was coming to you with that teenager, because that teenager is pushing that parent button?
Absolutely.
How would you help assess that situation to help that parent not let that teenager be a ticking bomb to them in their own house?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think the first step is really recognizing your part in it. I do see a lot of people for family counseling, for marriage counseling. I even have a few mother and daughters that I see together, and those are very important relationships. And during the teenage years, you can often see a breakdown because now your teenager has entered into a developmental stage that you don't understand. You don't want to understand because maybe there's some of the things they're exhibiting that you deem as disrespectful, and all the other things that comes along with it. But I think understanding is the first step, and having an awareness that we have a problem that maybe we can't solve on our own, and there are professionals like me out there to coach, support, consult. And I applaud the families who come in and say, look, I've tried everything, yelling is not working anymore. And that they come in and they get the support that they need, because it is very important. And those years are but a short time. Believe me, they pass. And once they pass, if the damage is not, fixed during those times, you can have a very strained relationship with your kids for a very long time. So it's really important to kind of get in there. And so to answer your question, I do an assessment. I take your side, I look at the child side or the children's side, and we all put out all the issues on the table. And a lot of times, you know, when parents come in and they begin to hear their children talk about some of the things, something goes off inside them that they say, yeah, I do that. And maybe if I took a step back, you know, we could work this out a little bit better. Or even reflecting on when you yourself was a teenager. Because remember, you weren't always this way. And so now you want to impose certain things upon your child, not remembering that you went through that very same developmental stage as well. So I think really, having the goal in mind of having a healthy relationship with my child, no matter what, no matter if the child is acting up, and remember to yourself that this is going to pass at one point in time. So let's just get through this. Find ways to spend time with them one-on-one. The child that may be acting up, all they're doing is they want some of your time. And a lot of times underneath that, that's what I find out.
Help.
They are screaming for your attention.
Screaming for help.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned the fact that once the damage is done, do you do wholeness restoration counseling as well?
Absolutely.
So it's never too late to restore relationships?
It's never too late. I had an adult female and her mom just very recently. She had to move back home. I think she was in her late 20s, and they had had a very severed relationship, but this woman, she couldn't help it. She had to move back home with her mom, and a lot of the things that they were struggling with was still left over. And so they came in, and yes, we did some restorative work to at least get them to the place where they recognize each of their faults in it. And I think that this doesn't happen overnight. So I really want you guys to understand that, this takes a commitment. You have to be committed to this process of change because it's not an overnight thing. And if you have the goal in mind that you really want to be successful in your relationship, any relationship for that matter, you have to commit to it. And you have to do things that may be out of the box for you, that you're not used to. Because if you want, to get some change, you can't keep doing the same things and expect to get the same results.
Yeah, they call that insanity, right?
Yeah, it certainly is.
Yeah, so when you're doing that restoration piece, and like you says, it's all about in the doing, because it's not just going to happen. It's not magic.
Yes.
So that means I have to do some work.
You do.
Are there landmarks where we can see whether or not it's going to be a prolonged period of time, or, because like you said, the insurance is only going to pay for a certain amount of session.
Yes.
What do I do if my insurance ran out and we're just getting to the heart of the issue? What can a family do at that point, or individual?
Yes. So part of the commitment means that you may have to commit some dollars to this as well.
Okay.
And a lot of us as professionals, we do have, payment arrangements that we can make with you to make it affordable, because we understand that not everyone can afford counseling, not everyone can afford psychotherapy. And in fact, when we get into the nitty-gritty of insurances, the unfortunate thing sometimes is insurances don't even want to pay for things like this. Behavioral health, which we see in our society, is so needed, but at the same time, we get a lot of resistance from insurances sometimes to cover certain things. But to answer your question, you should work with your provider. In my office, we do have comfortable payment plan. I don't take insurance personally. I do take the employee assistance program, so that for your viewers, just so that they know if they want to see me. But I'm notorious for working with people, because I want to see you get to your goals. I want to see you become most successful. And so whatever I can do to work out a payment plan for you, then I do that as well. But I want to answer your question that you asked, because it's a very important one. She's right. How do I know that I'm progressing ahead? And that's where the whole psychotherapy comes in. Part of our work is we have to develop a treatment plan. And together with your goals, you come in with a certain set of goals, and I usually ask you, what do you want to get out of your sessions? So that's really important for us to think about. And once you come up with, together we come up with what the goals are, then we begin to begin to flesh out what needs to happen, actionable steps. And it's also important for us to also realize with that, it's really important for you to kind of understand that part of what we do, and I use a type of counseling called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. It means changing your thinking so that your behavior changes. Part of that process is giving homework. I love homework because your life is not in that counselor's office. Your life is out there. So I may give the couple an assignment, something that they need to do, and come back and tell me how it worked out. The person who's abusing substances, I may say for the next week or so, try to cut back on your drinking, or go get an alcohol assessment and see what comes out for you. So you do have things to do outside of the session so so that you see your progress much faster.
Give us a success story.
Oh, wow. She's put me on the spot here. Okay. So I'll never forget this couple that was on the verge of divorce. And when they came to me, they were very, very broken. And they really thought that they were going to have a divorce. The wife hated the husband hated the wife. They were doing things separately. They were doing things apart from each other. They would come into sessions and we could not even get through the sessions because they were yelling at each other. They wouldn't listen to each other. And really at the end of the day, when they stopped to really own what their part was in that marriage and what they were bringing to the table, they began to recognize some things about themselves that they needed to change in order for the union to work. And at the end of this, my success in this was when the woman said to me, she made me love my husband again. That was just a super,
Yes.
wonderful story for me because they really did the work, but at the same time, I was the facilitator in the process. But I think what helped this couple is that they were committed to the process and they stayed with it and owned their stuff and recognized what they had to do individually in order for the union to work much better. Yeah.
That sounds like a fairy tale.
No,
but I love happy endings,
Me
and that's what
too.
it's all about.
Yes.
So tell me, with all of this, with the EAP programs and with us realizing the need for, why is it such a resistant problem out there for insurance companies and for employees that don't want to help people to be able to afford this? Because all we do is we're sorry when a young person goes shoot up a school or a person, they're killing each other on the street. And when you look back to it, it all stemmed from, some of them didn't get the help they need, or they came out of a violent home, or they came out of a violent situation or a marriage for those domestic violence situations. Why is it that insurances are reluctant to assist these employees and employers?
This is a very important question, and I'm not the insurance companies, and we know at the end of the day what they're concerned about. They're concerned about their bottom line, exactly. And unfortunately, I really have to say that our society as a whole does not do enough as it relates to providing preventive services in the area of mental health and mental wellness. The reason I love the EAP so much is because it's an underutilized program, but it's so essential. And I think we need to do more in educating employees on the importance of how you use it, why you use it, when you use it, all of those things, because it's there and it's free. Some people get up to 8 sessions for free, and you can do a lot with 8 sessions. But unfortunately, a lot of providers like myself are moving away from, taking insurance because at the end of the day, we need to get paid as well so we can stay in business.
So
and then
what's
we
the
have to
difference
go
between
through
using that where you all are not getting paid versus the EAP?
So EAP is guaranteed because it's already bought and paid for by the employer. But with regards to your health insurance, if you're going in for behavioral health, a lot of times you have to get pre-approval. Some insurances require that. And then by the time you wait for that pre-approval process, and then you come in, and then the psychotherapist has to assess, analyze, do all those things, and then submit a bill to say, I think the diagnosis is depression. And the insurance company may come back and say, well, no, you need to provide me with more documentation to justify that this really is depression. And all along, that person is going through their situation, and they're continuing to go through their situation, and we're playing that game with the insurance companies. So, not to give insurances a bad name, but just to say that I put the blame on our society as a whole that needs to do more in recognizing that mental health is so important. If your mind isn't right, nothing else is going to work right. Your whole entire being depends on a sound mind.
Wow.
And so it's really, really important for us to really put more emphasis on, looking at what we need to do in our society with regards to helping people improve their mental health when they do have a problem.
So people can actually take their EAP if they have it is it mainly government jobs or Fortune 500 jobs that purchase these EAP programs?
Yeah, not at all. We see both private and federal and local government that do have these EAPs. Some health insurances. So for those of you who don't know, you should ask. Your health plan comes with a certain amount of EAP sessions as well. So what they will do is maybe they'll allot 3 EAP sessions, and that means that you can use those sessions without having to go through the process of getting approved for that. And then once you've used those sessions, then they expect that you switch over to your health insurance or another form or method of payment.
Okay, so I can actually use those EAPs. Is there such thing as a mental checkup, like you have a physical checkup?
Oh, yeah.
What goes on in a mental checkup?
In fact, I encourage all of you to do a mental check-in. In this society today, we all need a mental check-in. And what that is that may end up being like a coaching session where you come in with an acute issue, maybe that you're just saying to yourself, before this gets any further or before this gets more damaging, I want to come in and really check in and see if everything is okay. I get people like that all the time that say, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy.
That is a word people use.
Yes. And even, just checking in. Maybe you've gone through counseling before in the past year or so, and now you've come back and you want to just check in. You want to, it's called, your way of doing things preventive, so that you don't get to that place where you're now in a crisis and it's going to take you much longer to overcome that situation.
How do you feel about making it mandatory? That everyone, how schools make it mandatory, that if we use logical things for small things, but when things really matter, all of a sudden we take our hands off the steering wheel. But how do you feel? And I know this is just opinionated, so this is just opinion. Views and opinion. Yeah, this is Mrs. H. That, just once a year, like we are, like females go get their breast exams, or they go get their pap smear. They're not mandatory, but they're something that mentally we make them mandatory. Right. Even without a doctor, or the insurance company automatically say you get every 2 years that breast exam. There's no question or doubt. But when it comes to our mental state, like you said, just to go and just get that little checkup. You're not saying something is wrong, but just in case you're teeter-tottling, because we can go there, you catch it before it happens.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm all for preventive. The thing about mental illness that we have to remember, or even mental health and mental wellness, is that we call it a hidden disability. So if I'm walking down the street, I'll never know that something's wrong with you. You'll never know that something's wrong with me, maybe unless I push one of your buttons, and then that's kind of when it comes out. And so it's still a stigma in our society. And so unfortunately, we're not really going to touch that, because people have free will choice, and counseling is one of the things that when it's mandated, oftentimes it may not work because somebody told you that you had to do this. But if you come to the place and the realization that this is something I want for myself, you're more able to own it, and then you are more likely to follow through and do the things that needs to be done. Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. Right now, what I want her to do, she came prepared. She's known as the talk doctor, and I love that. We always see Dr. Phil and some of the other men on TV, and they're called the talk doctor, but to have a Shiro right beside me and have that name, the talk doctor. Oh, yeah, you're one of my new BFFs now. To be the talk doctor, I just want you to get a minute with the talk doctor without me interrupting, asking her questions, because I wanted to have that moment where I asked a couple of questions, because you didn't ask the question, so I asked them for you. But right now, I want her to just share what it would be like if you went to her Instagram page or you went to her YouTube channel and you got the opportunity to, click on and to hear a minute with the talk doctor.
Hey there, guys. It's me, the Talk Doctor, coming to you live with another Minute with the Talk Doctor. I want to talk to you today about operating within your gifts. What are you good at? What are you passionate about? What are your talents? You know, oftentimes when we ask people that question, they can easily rattle off the things that they enjoy, the things that they are passionate about, even the things that they're good at. But you're working a job just to pay the bills that you really don't like. It leads to a sense of unhappiness, a sense of dissatisfaction and discontentment in life. And I hear people often say, I've got to pay these bills. But you know what happens? You are not operating within your gifts. You see, we all have gifts. It's the reason we were created. It's the reason we were made. We were all made for a purpose. And if there is something that you are passionate about, that's your gift. And you can operate within your gift. Even if you have to work that 9 to 5 to pay those bills, I challenge you to think about, take inventory of your life and think about what your gifts are and use your gifts right where you are. You know, a wise business person once said to me, he said, if you do what you love, the money will follow. And from the time I heard him say that, I've been doing what I love ever since. And you know what? It's worked great for me because I'm sharing my gift with the world, inspiring others to be the best they can possibly be. So I challenge you to do that. I challenge you to take inventory of your life and think about the things that you are passionate about, the things that you love doing, the things that you share most with people and you are allowed to shine. Those are your gifts. So this has been the Talk Doctor with another one of my Minute with the Talk Doctor. And I encourage you now to go to my Instagram page.
Yes.
I'm at The Talk Doctor. That's TheTalkDr on Instagram and Twitter. And my website is thetalkdoctor.wordpress.com. So go there now, follow me, and you'll see a whole host of Minutes with the Talk Doctor, inspirational videos, inspirational thoughts for today. I call them Talkspirations. And so when you get there, follow me, tell your friends, and I would love to continue to help inspire you and inspire your day.
Oh, I love it. And also tell them where you're located because she has 2 offices. So
Yes.
whether you're in Southern Maryland or in the Washington, D.C. area, tell them where your offices are.
So you can find me in Waldorf, Maryland, for those of you who live in Southern
Yay,
Maryland.
Waldorf.
And those of you who are in the downtown area, I'm also on 16th and K Street. That's where the other one of my offices is. You can go to the website and send me a message if you would like to get an appointment. And those of you who are not local, guess what? We are now so technologically savvy that we can see you even remotely. So don't think just because you're not local that you can't get coaching.
Interesting.
There's such a thing called telehealth that we all can use now. We can even have sessions over the phone or sessions via HIPAA-regulated live video. And HIPAA-regulated just means that it's private, so nobody can interfere with that private conversation we may be having. So don't think that you cannot connect with the Talk Doctor. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Wow, that is really savvy.
Yeah.
So that's been approved by the HIPAA law that you can do video cam?
A lot of physicians do it now, you know. You don't have to go into your physician's office anymore to see the physician because sometimes it's not feasible.
Right.
So you connect via a HIPAA-regulated video conference and you have a conversation with your doctor.
And you can just be billed
Oh, yeah.
from the internet.
You still get billed, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, we learn something new every day, as you just heard us say. And I definitely agree with that philosophy because we used to teach high school students that as a college rep, one of the philosophies at FIDM, which was an applied arts college, were we told them, do what you love and success would follow.
Absolutely.
And that is a true philosophy.
Yes.
And as a man thinketh, so is he.
Absolutely.
So I have thoroughly enjoyed spending my time today with the Talk Doctor. And if you would like to spend more time with the Talk Doctor and you have questions for her, visit her on her website, on her Instagram, follow her as she just stated. You even can have sessions with her. And look at your insurance. I want you today, pull out a copy or call your HR department, because that's what they're there for. They're to tell you and talk to you and show you what benefits that are available to you. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pull out my husband's insurance, because if I can get over to her, I'm going to go and have my 3 or 5 sessions to deal with some of the stressors that I have. But find out from your HR department if you have that employee assistant program, the EAP. Ask them. They will let you know. And if you do find out you have it, give her a call and let her know that you would like to use your insurance, or you would like to use your own personal income if you want to get in touch with her. Or maybe you have your own doctor or counselor, but at least she gave you the information for you to research it. Don't wait until a problem arises. Remember, this is October. This is Mental Health Awareness Week. This is Domestic Violence Month. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. These are opportunities for you to reach out to someone, or if you have that aunt or that uncle or that cousin that you see that you can inform, try to make these this information available to them. Talk to them, help them. Let's not wait until it come upon us and then we're trying to build a house in the rain. It's too late. You know, and like always, we're still praying for those in North Carolina, South Carolina, and the Carolinas. Much love with you. Again, happy Appreciation Pastors Month. And thank you so much, Dr. Dacia, for your
I'm a
time.
hugger.
Oh, I love you.
So much.
I
love
thank
you,
you
too.
for
Thank you
informing my guests.
Thank you
I
for
look
having
forward
me.
to having you back again to share with the studio audience and, you know, bring that awareness, because we all need it.
Yes.
Again, we all need that self-checkup. I know I do. Again, like always, you're watching QETV Live Show with your host, Mrs. H. I'm here every Thursday live from 1:30 to 2:30. And Antoinette, I just want to say to you, I miss you. I love you, Antoinette. I miss you. You know how to get in contact with me. But I love you. I miss you. Much success to you. I know you have a lot of things, as the Talk Doctor said. When you're doing what you love, success will follow. And I know you're on the path to success. So, you know, much love out there as you move forward on your successful path. And to all of you out there, you know, just continue. Stay aware of your surroundings. There's, like she says, there's a lot of people that we walk past every day. You don't know sometimes the buttons that people, that can be pushed on people and cause them to explode, like she said, implode. So give a smile, give a hug, you know, tell someone something kind today. Try to use kind words, because you know, laughter is like medicine. So I just want to say I love you. I thank you. And again, thank you for viewing QETV Live with your host, Miss H. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.